All right, we're locked in. Mark Consuelos, my guy. Thank you for taking the time.
You got it, man.
Briefly, we met in New York.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know you as an amazing dad, kick-ass athlete, and a movie star. You know,
Well, TV.
TV. Either way.
I'll take it though.
Either
man.
way, take
Yeah.
it. But if you don't mind, give me a little intro on yourself. Let
Yeah.
people know who you are.
Mark Consuelos, like you said, I live in New York City. Actor, producer, now host a talk show with my wife, which blows my mind in the best possible way. But I think the title that I love the most, obviously, would be father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
Father, husband.
initially how we met.
Yep.
Because Joaquin,
Yeah.
who's your
Youngest.
youngest.
Yeah. You trained him.
We trained for quite a bit, and amazing athlete, super dedicated, and now he goes to Michigan.
University of Michigan. Yeah.
Michigan. Is he wrestling?
Wrestling. Yeah.
Legend. God, the kid is a beast.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So recently, co-host.
Yeah.
Miss Kelly Ripa. So that's full circle for you guys because you started out where you met working with each other. Is that
Yeah,
right?
we started out when I moved to New York City. My first real audition. I just graduated college. I was in Tampa, and my agent sent me up there. I had an agent in Florida, which they started having a little bit of production happening down in the Disney area, Universal Studios. I think they thought TV was going to make a move down there back in the late mid '90s.
Right.
There were agents down there. I'm sure there's still agents down there. She submitted me for an audition to this show called All My Children. Had no idea. I kind of was familiar with it, but I flew up to New York with my bag for like 2 or 3 days, and I never left. And that's where I met my wife.
Got it.
We worked on the soap together for 7 years.
That's incredible.
Yep.
Tell me some of the pros and cons about working with your wife.
And
Also, if you have any advice for people that are currently.
Yeah. I think that, first of all, choose the right partner. And I chose wisely. I got really lucky. If you're going to get married, choose the right person.
Yeah.
And we were working together before we got married, which I think was pretty interesting. Because we're like, all right, this is great. We're working together. Now let's complicate it even more. And let's get married. And we didn't tell anybody for a long time. A month or two, we went and eloped because we were concerned. We're early 20s, mid 20s, and we're like, all right, I'm not sure how our bosses are going to think about this. Nobody even knows we're dating, really.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a little bit of unorthodox approach to starting out, and but it worked. And we subsequently worked on like maybe 3 or 4 other shows. If I got a show, she'd come and guest. If she was on a show, I would come and I would guest star on like Hope and Faith. So we worked together a lot, and then when she got live, I would fill in a bunch for that show. And it's kind of like, I was talking to you earlier. First of all, do you work out with your interviewees before you?
Yeah, no, that was actually the first time
great.
we did that. Yeah, so we had just prior.
You should always do that.
Yeah, it's good. You get to know somebody when you're locked in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get a nice little session at the gym. You come and talk. Anyway, I would fill in for her, for whoever she was co-hosting with, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun, but there were no stakes.
Right.
I was just the guy filling in. Usually somebody got sick or whatever. Can you come in? Like, yeah, cool. You're like the hero. You come in, everybody laughs, and I did none of the heavy lifting at all. I really didn't understand the full scope of the job. And then when the opportunity was presented us to do it together, we had a lot of conversations. First of all, the first answer was like, no, I can't do that. This is first of all, it's not what I do.
Right.
Plus we're working. That's a lot and complicated. And then we sat and we like thought about it. I'm like, wait, I've done it like 100 times. Is it fun? Yeah, it's fun. But fun, it's fun when there was no stakes.
Yeah.
But at least it started like, okay, it's always been positive. That was like a big part of the decision making. Always been positive. And then on my side, I'm like, okay, who am I working with? I'm working with someone who's best in class at what they do.
Yep.
Okay, great. For me, like selfishly, I'm like, all right, I'm working with someone who's really knows what they're doing. 3, somebody I trust implicitly with my life. Great. Who's not going to let me fail? Great. Who is going to teach? I can learn from in this genre. Like, great. And I'm like, all right. And the schedule is really nice. It's really, really nice. It's conducive. You know, we like to travel and we like to spend time, you know, visit our kids in different locations. And I'm like, all right, this is really risky because the most important thing is our marriage and our children. But we trust each other, and we just looked at each other and like, two things are gonna happen. The show was #1 when I started, and like it could either be a bomb and we're like, oh, or it's gonna be great, and like amazing. But at the end of the day, if we both agree that 10 years from now we're gonna laugh about it, like we're truly gonna laugh about it. And the thought that our grandkids could have like footage of us doing this zany, like, you know, host chat together and like talking to really cool guests, amazing guests, could be kind of funny and not funny, but actually meaningful in a way.
That's special.
Yeah.
So it's been how long now?
I started in April. So where are we? We're in October.
Yeah.
It's October.
Yeah.
So what?
So we talked about a little bit in the gym as we were warming up. Can you just kind of like break down again how you did for me, kind of what it was like being on TV, acting in that setup, and then also...
Yeah. So, you know, as an actor, that's when you get, like, if you get picked up and let's say your call time's like 7 a.m., I know my brain doesn't really have to be firing at 100% until like around 10 a.m. So you get picked up, you drive over there, they feed you, would you like some breakfast, hair and makeup, and they invite you to rehearsal. They invite you. Would you like to rehearse? Sure, I'd love to rehearse. And then you go back, you're like, would you like to get dressed? Okay, I'll get dressed. Great, cool, we're gonna shoot first shot in about 15 minutes. So by the time your brain needs to be sharp for the first take, it's typically 2 hours, 3 hours before you're like, you're there for what they paid you for. Like, you know, like I'm, you know, and then it's only for 2 minutes at a time or 3 minutes at a time. And they cut and they do it again, they cut and they do it again, and then they turn the cameras around, and then you got another 30 minutes of just like that. That's like, and that goes on for 12 hours. Right? You know, and you're sitting in your you know, trailer or your dressing room for the majority of that, or off on the side of set. This job is, you know, I walk into the studio at 7:30 in the morning, which is, you know, a 10-minute commute from my house. So you do the math, shaving and shower for us, it's like, you know, whatever, you can wake up at 7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you walk in and it's a fire hose in the mouth of information that's going to be happening. There's going to be a live shot at 8:30. You're going to go live at 9. You do the show. You got things are happening, changing, morphing, cutting. We're losing that guest. They had, you know, or we don't have enough time. We're going to push them to tomorrow. I'm like, you got 2 minutes in this segment, and I'm like, what is that? You know, and wrap it up and cut and, you know, intro, outro, whilst being like really, really, you know, upbeat and yourself, but upbeat, because that's the assignment, right?
Yeah.
That's the assignment. So by the time we're done and wrapped and ready to go, my day's done, which is great. It's at noon. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I got there at 7:30. I'm done at noon. It felt like a 13-hour day, adrenaline-wise, in a good way, in a really, really, really good way. But that's how it's different.
Got it.
In what it's like, slow and methodical. The acting thing, this is like, you know, you're in a sprint. You're in a sprint, locked in a sprint, which is a completely different discipline for me. I find it extremely challenging in a positive way. I like puzzles. I like, you know, assignments, and trying to get good at it. And when you make a mistake, go back and, you know, the drawing board, like, why did I do that?
Right.
And they're like, what mistake are you talking about? And I'm like, no, I messed up. I'm like, who cares? Move on. It's done. Move on.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the difference.
And it's also probably really helpful, like, you are working with someone that's best in class and that holds the bar super high. And it's almost like a Kobe Shaq situation where you're like, okay, if I might not be shooting super well this morning, I know.
She's Kobe. I'm like Derek Fisher.
Okay.
I'm Derek Fisher or somebody like.
Yeah.
No offense to Derek Fisher.
Yeah, Derek got a great jump shot.
Got a great jump shot.
Yeah, that's awesome. So to kind of paint the picture here, the reason why I really wanted to go into podcasting is because I am around a lot of really interesting people that have done some great stuff. And I often find that each individual, you know, are at the pinnacle of their craft or career. And there tends to be this big sacrifice of health along the way to achieve the wealth. And so that's something that like I want to try to bridge that gap and solve for, but also I ask each guest kind of like, what is your regimen? Obviously, you and Kelly are super dedicated.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah. So if you can just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, you know, I played sports and, you know, was always very active. And I would say my early to mid 20s, I worked out, but it was like bro workouts. You know, I really didn't take it seriously because you didn't really have to because you're still in your 20s. And then as soon as the 30s started hitting, I'm like, okay, this is good. Things are changing. I need to either commit to a consistent regimen and make it a lifestyle, or I'm just going to give up and like be okay. And either one I'm okay with.
Right.
Which one am I going to be okay with? And if I choose the one that's I'm just going to let it go, I know myself I will not be okay with. And so I just said, all right, this is what you have to do, no matter what, non-negotiable. 7 a.m. call time, 6 a.m. call time, I have to get up at 4:30 sometimes and get a workout in if I know that my day is insane. So I would say that it's just consistency. I value feeling good. It's not so much aesthetics, but it's like I feel great right now. We just worked out, and I didn't work out yesterday. I had a long day. It felt horrible.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a crazy workout.
No.
We just did
good movement,
get the body
flowing.
And I make endorphins. And so I think 5 days a week is my situation where I will either lift or do some great movement stuff, you know, strength training, and then one rest day where I don't even think about it. And then on the second rest day, I'll walk 5 miles or something for an hour, but low impact.
For sure.
Something kind of interesting, like go outside, do something, you know, and that makes me feel good.
That's awesome. If you can bottle up kind of all the experience and knowledge you have with movement training and nutrition, like what would be your advice for someone just 3 days a week of this is the best formula for sustaining and, you know, progress?
You know, for me, I would say I'm still learning. I'm 52. I'll be 53 in a few months. I'm learning more now in the past 5 years and there's so much more information, you know, that it's evolving. Sure. So my advice would be to do your research. And there's so much information like on Instagram and TikTok. It's almost too much information. Find somebody like you that is tapped into and is not just stuck in that regimented, you know, Gold's Gym and against that, but learning about, you know, hip mobility. Mobility at my age is so important. So I don't know if I'm answering your question or not.
No,
I would say
fine.
Find someone who's not like stuck in just one way, who is curious. I'm working with a guy, Joe Giangrasso in New York City, who is ever evolving, learning, talking about, you know, studying, you know, probably talks to the same people that you talk about out here and, you know, and where we are. And is always very, very curious about the cutting edge, not just the fad stuff, but what's going to be healthy and, you know, for me.
Long term.
And each person is in, you know, how he trains the next person after he trains me is completely different.
For sure.
You know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Speaking about where we are in Austin, so you've been coming here for years, throughout the years.
Yeah.
Got it. And what are your thoughts on how it's evolved?
I came here I didn't think it was that long ago, but it was. My son was just, my eldest, Michael, was just looking at colleges. He got into UT, and he was coming back for like the accepted students weekend. And Kelly and I were so excited, like, we got to get him to go to UT because we want to visit Austin. We love Austin. And he's such a New York kid. He's like you.
Yeah.
He grew up, 2 blocks away from NYU in Soho.
Right.
And it was funny. We went far and wide to universities all over the country, and he ended up going to NYU. So I think the last time I was here was like 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Or 6 years ago. Yeah, 6 years ago.
Yeah, and it's changed a little bit.
It has, man. It's still got that really great, weird, energy, which is awesome. But man, people are fit here.
Yeah.
Just you look outside and they're doing something. Just great. I like the vibe.
Yeah, the town, the community is definitely like pretty fit. Everyone takes it serious for the most part. Lifestyle. Yeah. And you have access to a little bit better weather usually. Yes. So you can go for those hikes, go for a run, go out on the water, so it's super nice. So it's also F1 weekend. How was your experience there yesterday?
So far, oh man, I've been following F1 for 3 decades. My dad got me into it, and it's funny how F1 has captured the imagination of the American audience. And I think I've talked to a handful of people. I've talked to a handful of people before I came here, and we really hey, how long have you been watching F1? And they go, well, I watched that show Drive to Survive on Netflix, and I gotta tell you, it sounds insane. Yeah. But I think that show really kind of encapsulated what I've known for us F1ers that have been following it since day one, day oneers. That the drama and the competitiveness between the teams and sometimes the drivers and what these guys are doing is so remarkable. They're fighter pilots, essentially. And I think, I don't know, it's really, really cool to see what's essentially a Super Bowl happening here in Austin. It's like the Super Bowl for 3 days. Yeah. Every day.
It's intense.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. I love the sport.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the weather here too, and it's kind of like Austin definitely wasn't built to have this many people here at once. Right. So if it rains too much, everything's closed. If it snows, the cities.
You guys don't have
salt.
You don't have salt and like plow snow plows. Yeah, exactly. You don't have that. Like New York City has salt mounds on the side of the road.
Oh yeah, it could be a hurricane. People are still showing up to a 6 a.m. workout class. Right.
And here, it's weather dependent here?
It's pretty weather dependent.
Really? Yeah. It's kind of LA that?
It's getting a little bit more, people are toughening up a little bit, but I definitely know some people that live 2 miles from the gym at Collective, and it's like, dude, it's raining. It's raining bad.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I'm like, just cross the bridge.
Oh, okay, so they're soft. They're a little soft?
They're a little, soft? It's nicer here. It's a little calmer. Okay. But that's really awesome to hear that analogy, like fighter pilots, because I also didn't grow up with F1. I didn't watch it. Right. And then as you start to really, I think most sports, once you start to really take the time and dive into the stories behind it and the individuals, and then you get passionate about it because they're passionate about it, and then it becomes like anything else.
Do you think they're athletes?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, you have to, because the cognitive durability, the amount of attention to detail you must have, it's similar to
save your life.
To save your life, similar to boxing or MMA. Any split second you can get popped. Anything can happen. Right. So you have to be very, very aware and present. It's like 3-dimensional chess in there.
Yeah. Pulling G's.
Yeah.
Massive G's. Yeah. I took a hot lap yesterday.
Okay.
They took me out on the track in this Aston Martin. Oof. And I had this, gosh, I'm so upset. I don't remember her name. She's a female driver. She's actually the first female F1 test driver in 5 years. Okay. And I sat next to her. And she's like, you ready? And they took me on the fastest, it's regarded as the fastest SUV in the world, this Aston Martin. Wow. And that track's amazing. Yeah. The one in Austin's the Circuit of the Americas. Yep. And she was like, just doing all the, every turn. I'm like, and I was screaming I was so happy. Yeah. And just watching her do her thing. I don't know, but they do that. I did 1 lap. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's 2 minutes. Yep. Those guys are doing that for 90 minutes. Yeah. 90. That level of plus pushing buttons and changing things and looking and talk. I don't know how they do that.
I saw a really cool video of like, I think it was in the 80s in the racing or early 90s.
Shift.
Yeah. And just like, you know, when they go to the pit to change the tires,
yeah.
it took like, I don't know, like more than 30 seconds or a little less.
Was it always?
Maybe it was a little less. Maybe it was a lot less.
Yeah, that's NASCAR.
But then they fast forwarded to
2.5 seconds, 3 seconds.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like a ballet.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 gone.
Yeah.
And you know, and also this weekend it's gonna be hot, so those guys are, you know, it's probably gonna be close to 90, 85.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went last year with a buddy of mine and a few clients, and it was really hot. I mean, if you're fortunate enough, you're in the tents, and you know it's a little bit nicer.
Sure.
The GA is like a lot of walking around cattle, and it's just like, you know, you're tiptoeing, you're looking.
And it's also, it's like if you haven't like watched a race, if you don't know the track, it's kind of like
what's happening?
You kind of need to have a little screen somewhere and understand what's happening. But the smells and the sounds are unlike.
Yeah, it's special.
It's really special. And you just started watching it
just the last year or so?
Last year? Okay, so the sound changed.
Okay.
The car changed to this turbo engine, different. I don't know the exact, but it must have been like 10, 15 years ago. I'm a little fuzzy on when it changed, but it used to sound like, you know, when you're in the Midtown Tunnel, and one of those rockets, motorcycles fly by.
Okay.
That's what it used to sound like.
Oh,
like
wow.
meh, 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 like and another octave higher. And then boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Now it's kind of like, whoa.
That's cool.
You know, it's still a cool sound. You don't know what you're missing. You have no context.
Yeah.
But the sound, cool. I went to a race in Italy, in Imola, in the Principality of San Marino with my dad. And we got off the train from Bologna and we walked, it must have been a half mile to the track. It's this national park. And you could hear the sounds from like a half a mile away or a mile away of just like maybe half a mile away. Just this high pitched, it was amazing. I romanticize the sport a lot.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I encourage people listening and people viewing, and including myself, like I'm going to start really paying attention to it now. Yeah. Because if you don't, and you're just like, yeah, maybe I'll go, especially if I'm fortunate enough to live here and Circuit of Americas is here, like I'm going to start paying a lot more attention.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like an art form, like any other sport.
Yeah. I would agree.
That's really cool. Another thing I try to talk to people about is like, obviously you're dived in, locked in. You said several days a week with Kelly on the show. Mm-hmm. Are there any other things, investing, ventures that you're involved in or have been involved in?
Yeah. We have a production company.
Okay.
And so, which is now become like a media company. You know, we're all, you know, books, animated, audiobooks, reality, game shows, scripted. Okay. You know, that's a lot of fun when I'm not acting or I'm not doing, you know, the talk show. It's really great to go in and try to, you know, to collaborate with other producers as well, partner with other really smart people to move along the production company, which the business side is, I really, really enjoy that. Obviously with the strike, you know, it's been hard for a lot of people, writers.
Can you, for some of us that like aren't really, that we hear the word, we hear that this thing's going on, but can you explain like why this is happening and still happening?
You would need another guest.
Okay.
Yeah, you would absolutely need another guest, and it's like any negotiation, like any other strike. You know, there's the contract's up.
Yeah.
Oh, why it's happening? So the contract is like 4 or 5 years, and then every 4 or 5 years, it's kind of like the same thing. Like, what are we doing? And so usually they get ahead of it, and everybody both sides figured out before the contract expires. This time they didn't figure it out.
Oh, okay.
And you know, all three unions. We have more coming up too, like the IATSE, which is, you know, more of the cruise. That's going to be an important one coming up because we can, you know, the actors and the writers can be working, but if we don't have a crew, that's, to me, they're like the most important, aside from the writing, the most important part of the process.
Okay. Yeah, because I heard someone saying something about there also is a argument about the syndication or for some of these shows.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. And that's obviously like what a lot of actors, make their living on if down the line as well.
Right.
And I heard, again, I could be completely wrong, that this is like they're trying to some of those shows or networks are trying to cut that off.
It's complicated. I think the traditional syndication residuals.
Yeah, residuals.
Residuals. Yeah, you do a show like I did Friends 20 years ago. I still get like a little residual that comes.
What was the episode?
The one about Chandler's dad. I played Officer Hansen, but Jennifer Aniston. Whatever. It was like David Schwimmer and Jen. I pulled them over, and she calls me.
That's right.
Officer Handsome.
Officer. That's great. Okay.
So I still, and sometimes the check is 25 cents.
Yeah.
With the streamers, again, I don't. I truly, I would be lying to you if I truly understood every facet of this. And most actors are very well up to speed on this. But I
get it.
The streamers have a different format. If the residuals are different, if not any at all. So, like you said, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the last TV show you were on?
I'm still on strike, so I can't talk about.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Well, if I can just say The Kingdom with Frank, loved that one. Mm-hmm. I watched it. I binged it. It was just incredible. And that came out a few years ago, I think.
Again, I can't.
I
can't talk about any.
Yeah.
I can't talk about any scripted
shows.
Done.
No. Got it.
No, that's cool. You can talk about it.
Anyway, I'm a fan. Great show, fighting, drama, family. Go watch it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. So after Austin, where you headed?
Man, it's a busy time of year back in the city. We're doing, Kelly's show, which is, I guess, part of my. I'm part of that as well.
Yeah.
Our show.
Yeah.
They own Halloween. Like they do this huge Halloween live thing, and we've been hard at work at that, and it's a lot of fun. And that's like my next focus, the next 2 weeks. That's all. I've got stuff happening after that.
Yeah.
I'm traveling, speaking here, doing other things, but I can't even think about like the next past 5 to 10 days because it starts to get overwhelming.
No, I get it. One of the things I love so much about the show is you guys are really creative, and the energy. Because like even recently, you guys had the cold tubs on and I know you're big into that now. Tell me about that.
It's funny. I told Kelly, I said, listen, the assignment of this show is to have these two people that have a relationship, either they're like, best friends or great friends or now a married couple, are going to have coffee with you at fill in the blank 9, 10, 11, whenever the show's on in your state or city, right? That's the assignment. We're gonna have a cup of coffee. It's not a news show. We're gonna talk about a few things that we find interesting and how we see it through our lens. And sometimes it's very different between how I see it and she sees it, which is the magic. And it's funny, or it's like it's interesting. Like in our case, it's like a husband and wife. Everybody can relate that two people see it those two people see things differently.
Right.
They're united on the important things because that's, unless you have that, then you have nothing. But the small things we see differently. And that's what makes us so individual. So I said, Kelly, look, I love sports and I love fitness and I'm like really into it. I'm going to start pitching ideas. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I told the executive producer, Michael Gelman, I said, hey, listen, man, I think F1 in the States, everybody knows something about it. They know somebody that loves it. And it's because of this, new found interest. It's like in F1, I think I should go. We'll take a cameraman and we'll shoot some interviews. I'll do a lap on the track and I'll bring it back and we'll do a tape piece. He was like, fantastic. So
that's awesome.
And then we own, we're part owners of a small soccer team, a 4th division soccer team in Italy.
Yep.
I went last year and we got promoted to the next division. And I said, I'm going to go. It's a championship game. If we win, it's going to be awesome. I'll bring a camera guy. We'll shoot it and we'll we'll bring a little piece of Italy back for the show.
Smart.
He's like, I love it. Do it. And we did it. It was great. And so I've been able to kind of, as far as being creative, pull some things in that I feel are extremely authentic to myself.
Yep.
That Kelly, loves, and like she's like, you do you. I'm not going to Austin. She's actually, in London with my daughter looking at apartments. But like, I don't want to go to F1 race. You go.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. So to have that freedom and creativity.
The thing is with the shows, like, what did you do last night? Well, I don't know. What did you do last night? Like, we went to bed at 9:00. Like so that's kind of our routine most nights.
Right.
Like, go to bed. I can't wait to like go and rest because we get up early and work out or whatever. But whenever I can go to a show or go do this, and she does a lot of stuff aside from me and bring it back to the show, I think it's really, really important. It shows our individual interests, which I think, a lot of married couples have.
Yeah, that's special.
Yeah.
That's great way to segue and circle back into how we kind of started as like the father you are, the husband. Me, I have a 2.5-year-old and I'm obsessed with my son. If you have any advice for someone like me or just single parents, or families in general that, I think often people don't have a manual of how to raise kids, how to start a business, but would love your personal feedback.
I think that, my dad used to like say to us, and he'd say to me, and he'd look at me like when I was in my 20s or older, and he'd look at like me with my kids and my siblings, and we're all together. And he'd say, I would give my right pinky finger, I would take it off right now if I could go back with you when you were that age. He's looking at my son.
Yeah.
He meant it. I'm like, that's a weird thing to say. And it wasn't until my kids got older and, we're empty nesters now that I understood what he meant.
Right.
And because when you're in the, in the trenches with a toddler and like a few and as a single parent, and you're like, okay, I just need to manage this until let's keep them out of, jail, the morgue and rehab. I'm like, that's my job. It's like, we're going to 8 till 18 and then college and then we'll go through that. And then after that, it's over. I'm like, you're when you're in the trenches, you just want it to get to a manageable place, but it's never in a manageable place. It's always a roller coaster.
Right.
And I think I know that you do this in a really substantial way. I think you enjoy the day, the moment. Please, Eric, I'm telling you, man, it goes like that, and he's going to be introducing you to his like fiance, or you're going to be like seeing him off to college. I'm telling you, it's a flash. And I think that you do the best you can every day. You say you're sorry when you mess up, because it's important for them to learn that it's okay to apologize. Like that's like a hard thing for people, so I know some people like their parents never apologize to them, right? Because we mess up. Yeah, we say things out of impatience or of anger, right? You say things to people you love because it's safe. Yeah, and who's safer than your kid because they can't do anything to you. You're like, you're annoying. Yeah, and you can see it kind of they internalize it, and it's okay. And I think it's okay to apologize and teach them that skill. Apologize. Yeah. It's okay. It's not weakness. It's strength.
It's great advice.
It's really, really strength. It's okay. It's okay. And then you clear your day. You clear your books for the day, and then you can move on with your life. If you hold on to all this stuff that families do, and no one ever gets that apology or that kind of like closure on things, it kind of carries its baggage and it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. Yeah. So, I think that clean your books at the end of the day. Like, what did I do? All right, I need to clean my side of the street. And then you start and you try to do the best you can the next day. And I apologize a lot. Still, I'm 52. My kids are all in their 20s. I'm always apologizing for something I said or did or but that's okay. Yeah, I love it. Because my dad apologized. Like, my parents would do that with me.
Yeah, I think that's important. And my narrative growing up was definitely, I didn't really have a lot of those things. So for me, it's like you said, being in the trenches, something usually solo. So it's like I try to just remember patience, praying, perseverance, the triple P's. Yeah, man. And just remind myself in those moments, this is going to pass. And a lot of people get fixated on the 15-second or 15-minute tantrum, and it ruins their day, their week. So I try to just stay locked in because it's my child. I love him,
I equate childhood or being a parent to a kid, and even now, like my kids are in their 20s, and you know the small problems just become bigger, like bigger concerns, not problems, but like they're because the stakes are higher when they get older, right? It's like being on a really nice flight. You know, got a nice seat, and you're chilling, and it's great. The sun's beautiful views, and you know you're going. You know the destination's going to be amazing. You know. And then all of a sudden it's right, and the turbulence. And when you fly on a plane, at least I do, I know the turbulence is going to stop.
Yeah.
Or I'm hoping it's going to stop.
Correct.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to like believe that it's going to stop. And that's like being a parent. Like sometimes you're nose diving, you're like, oh, pull up. And then sometimes it's just nice and easy. But you're always going to hit turbulence, and it's always going to stop.
Yeah.
And then it's going to get smooth again. But when you're in it, it feels like it's over. I get it.
Yep.
Get it.
But life goes on.
Yep.
Well, as I said, you've been a role model to me, and I'm sure many others. So I appreciate you taking the time. You. And I'll see you in New York in a few weeks. I'll be out there.
All right, brother. Thank you, man.
All righty. 2 clicks.